The Cerner EMR conversion allowed for many changes that we had been wanting to add to our process but needed to put a hold on. Human trafficking assessments was one of these long-awaited additions. I'm going to talk a little bit about human trafficking and the significance of this assessment. So January is actually National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month. It is a great opportunity to celebrate the efforts of anti-trafficking organizations and learn more about how we can play a part in ending human trafficking. Since 2010, this month has been dedicated to raising awareness about the different forms of human trafficking and educating people about this crime and how to spot it. So human trafficking is the use of force, fraud, or coercion to compel a person into any form of labor against their will. So that means it can happen in any industry, including agriculture, construction, domestic service like a housekeeper or a nanny. It can happen in restaurants, salons, commercial sex work, massage parlors, and other small businesses. This is why human trafficking is also known as modern-day slavery. Victims are often lured away from family and friends with a promise of a better life, or they are forced to perform legal and illegal work because of debt bondage or other scare tactics. That work can range from prostitution to exotic dancing to street peddling, housekeeping, childcare, like we talked about, anything, construction, landscaping, and sometimes just being in a servile marriage or being involved in other criminal activities, being drug traffickers or other things like that. Victims of human trafficking are often controlled, like I said, physically, emotionally, and financially. Traffickers are known to use violence, threats, deception, like we talked about, debt bondage, and other manipulative tactics. Escape is difficult for these people because victims of human trafficking are often invisible in our society. Poverty is one of the biggest exploiters of people, and especially in already marginalized populations like the Black, Indigenous, or Latinx communities. Many of these people don't speak English. They're afraid to approach authorities because they fear threats of harm against their families or deportation if they're not citizens. They fear other criminal proceedings if they were involved in criminal work. And they are not often treated as victims, but as perpetrators themselves. So they have no idea sometimes where they are or how to get help. And there's also a lot of shame around being in this kind of situation. Human trafficking is a $1 billion profit a year system. It makes less money only to drug trafficking as the most profitable form of crime, transnational crime. The pandemic, with its economic ramifications of furlough and laid off employees, strained social services, and food and housing insecurities only exacerbates the potential for these exploitations. So our goal here is simple. We want to end trafficking by starting first with identification, ensuring a safe space, and providing these people resources. We are a key access point for people who are being trafficked. So please don't take this task lightly. Make sure that you are making the time to ask these questions in a private and secure setting. Remember that traffickers can fit many different profiles, and try not to assume your patient's safety and status. Be really intentional about creating a safe space to discuss these questions at some point during the patient's stay, whether it be in the OBED or even when preparing the patient for discharge. Make sure that you were able to get a good screening on your patient and that we are doing our best to advocate for these people. You'll find that the human trafficking assessment is part of the OBED nursing assessment screening and the FMC one. So it is an expectation that every patient, every time, is being assessed for a risk of human trafficking. And that is it. We are excited to start to keep an eye out and help our community in this way.